Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really tackling something I know loads of us have bumped up against. How do you keep that fire going, when you're deep into a really long-term project?
Right. That long haul.
Exactly. We've been looking at a really insightful discussion on this, and, well, our aim today is to get past the sort of quick flashes of inspiration.
Yeah, the fleeting stuff.
And get right into the practical, the real-world strategies that actually keep you moving step by step when it gets tough.
It's such a common thing, isn't it? That initial buzz, that excitement when you start something new.
Absolutely.
Maybe learning a language, launching something creative, working towards a big personal goal.
Yeah, anything really.
But then, almost inevitably, that first spark starts to dim. Procrastination creeps in. Maybe those little doubts start whispering.
Oh, definitely the doubts.
And yeah, what felt exciting suddenly feels like a real slog, an uphill battle.
Absolutely. And what we're really digging into today is this idea that the problem isn't like some basic lack of discipline in you or, not having enough talent.
Right. It's not a character flaw.
No, it's more often just not understanding how to actually nurture and keep that motivation going over weeks, months, maybe even years.
These are skills, genuine skills you have to learn and practice.
Exactly.
So our mission here in this deep dive is basically to pull out those actionable strategies, the things that help you build the right habits, the systems that support you.
The mental tools.
And the mental resilience, yeah. To stay on track, we're going to unpack some of the main reasons why that initial drive can just vanish. And offer some really concrete, practical solutions, ways to reconnect with why you started, set goals that actually energize you, build routines that work, and importantly, navigate those really tricky middle stages.
Yeah, the messy middle.
That's the one.
And the big thing I hope you, the listener, take away is maybe a fresh viewpoint and some tools you can use, like straight away. Feeling stuck or tired, that doesn't mean you're failing. It's actually part of it. Consistency, that's the key, right? Not trying to stay hyped up all the time.
It's almost a certainty that the intense energy you feel right at the start, it's just not sustainable.
No way.
The real test, the real challenge kicks in when that initial buzz naturally starts to fade.
Okay, so let's think about why that happens, though. It feels like motivation just naturally ebbs and flows, doesn't it? It's not a straight line upwards.
Not at all.
So expecting those times when you feel a bit stuck, maybe even bored, maybe overwhelmed, or just, plain tired.
Physically, mentally drained.
Yeah. Expecting that seems more realistic, doesn't it? No matter who you are or what the project is.
And that brings up a really critical point. What are those common roadblocks? The things that really, trip us up and derail that motivation.
Right.
Burnout's a huge one.
Yeah.
Pushing too hard for too long without proper rest.
Just grinding.
Yeah, grinding leads to exhaustion, plain and simple. And those tasks I felt inspiring at first. They start feeling like drudgery, dread even.
I know that feeling. And then there's the constant barrage of distractions, right? The endless scrolling, the notifications pinging. It feels like everyone else's life is way more exciting.
Yeah, the comparison trap.
And it pulls your focus right away from your own stuff.
Yeah.
Leads to wasted time, that feeling of being stuck.
And as that initial excitement disappears, it's so common for self-doubt to just sidle in. You start questioning, if you really cut out for this, you compare your messy reality to someone else's curated highlights.
Yeah.
And that inner critic just gets louder and louder, makes it so hard to keep moving.
Slow progress is another killer, I think. Big goals take time.
They really do.
And in the early days, sometimes you can barely see the progress you're making. It feels invisible.
Yeah, like you're spinning your wheels.
Right. So you get frustrated, feel like your effort isn't paying off, even if objectively it actually is.
And we shouldn't forget the emotional side either. The sheer boredom that can come from doing the same thing over and over.
A routine.
The uncertainty about whether it'll all work out in the end.
Yeah.
That fear of failure or maybe fear of what people will think.
Yeah, judgment.
All of that can just paralyze you, stop you from taking action.
And what strikes me is how universal these struggles are. It doesn't matter what the project is.
Exactly.
You could be a student slogging through exams where progress feels so slow.
Glacial, yeah.
Or a creative person on that emotional roller coaster of a passion project, worrying how it'll be received.
Right.
Or an entrepreneur juggling a million things. These motivation dips, they seem to hit everyone.
But maybe, if we zoom out a bit, maybe that struggle itself isn't actually a bad sign.
Interesting. What do you mean?
Well, maybe it's actually an indicator that you're doing something meaningful, something important to you, work that's actually leading to real growth.
Okay. Because growth is often uncomfortable. Right?
Exactly. Growth rarely happens in the comfort zone.
So it's about kind of normalizing that messy middle phase.
Precisely. Recognizing that this phase, the struggle, the fluctuating motivation, it's totally normal. Everyone who's ever achieved anything significant has gone through it.
Right.
The key isn't to avoid it, but to figure out how to keep putting one foot in front of the other, even when it feels hard.
And that's exactly what we're going to focus on for the rest of this deep dive.
Yep, moving beyond just the hype, the rah-rah stuff.
Yeah, no quick fixes here.
No, we're diving into real, proven strategies, focusing on mindset, on structure, on practical tools you can actually use, starting now, to navigate the ups and downs and build a rhythm that you can actually sustain.
Okay, so when that first wave of excitement inevitably crashes, what is it that really keeps us going? It can't just be willpower, can it? Or finding the next productivity hack.
No, definitely not. It has to be something deeper. It's your why.
Your why.
Your underlying purpose. The real reason you started this thing in the first place. Surface level goals, like I want to finish this report, they just don't have the staying power when things get tough.
Right. They crumble under pressure.
Yeah. Knowing your why, that's like your anchor.
Okay, give us an example. You mentioned some stories earlier.
Well, think about J.K. Rowling. Facing poverty, depression, rejection after rejection for Harry Potter.
So many rejections.
But her belief in the story, that deep need to bring that world to life, that was her why. That's what kept her going against overwhelming odds.
That makes sense. It wasn't just about getting published.
No, it was much bigger than that for her. Or think about Elon Musk with SpaceX. Those early rockets blew up, people laughed, investors pulled out.
Yeah, huge setbacks.
But his mission, his why, was making humanity a multiplanetary species. That huge vision drove him through it all. Failure wasn't the end. It was just, data, a learning step towards the big why.
And your why doesn't have to be like saving humanity, does it? It can be much more personal.
Absolutely. That's the key. If you're learning English, dig deeper. Is it really just about getting a better job? Or is it about connecting with your grandkids, providing a different future for your children, feeling a sense of freedom when you travel?
Okay, finding that deeper layer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you're a student, what does that degree really mean? Stability, pride, escaping a situation. For a creative project, what's the core mission? To inspire, to solve a problem you care about, to build a life that feels more authentic.
So it's intensely personal. Only you can really define it.
Totally. And once you connect with it, you need to make it real, tangible.
How do you do that?
Make it visible. Write it down. Put it somewhere you see it every day.
Yeah.
On your desk, your mirror, your phone background.
Like a constant reminder.
Exactly, a touchstone. Especially for those hard days when you're thinking, why am I even doing this?
So the why becomes your fuel tank, essentially.
It's your reason to show up when you really don't feel like it. It gives meaning to the grind, makes the small steps feel worthwhile because they connect to something bigger. So maybe take a moment right now if you're listening. Just pause. Ask yourself, why did I really start this? What would finishing it truly mean to me? Deep down. Keep asking why until you hit that emotional core.
That's a great exercise. Find the feeling behind the goal.
That's where the power is.
Okay, so we've got the foundation, know your why. Now let's shift gears a bit to the more practical day-to-day stuff. Big goals. They're exciting at first, but man, they can get overwhelming fast, can't they?
Oh, absolutely. That huge gap between where you are now and that distant finish line, it can feel so massive it just paralyzes you.
Yeah, like how will I ever get there? So what's the antidote to that overwhelm?
The key is to stop staring only at the summit. Shift your focus to the very next step.
Okay.
Break it down into small, manageable chunks, micro goals, daily or weekly actions that build progress consistently.
Micro goals. Can you give some examples?
Sure. Instead of write a book, maybe it's write 300 words today.
Okay. Doable.
Instead of master English, it's learn 5 new phrasal verbs today and use 1.
Right. Specific.
Instead of launch the perfect business, maybe talk to 1 potential customer today.
So it's about changing the focus from the massive outcome to the immediate action.
Exactly. It shifts your focus from pressure to progress. You get a little win, and that builds momentum. Which brings us to minimum viable progress.
Minimum viable progress. Okay, tell me more.
It's about asking, what's the absolute smallest thing I could do today that still moves the needle forward? Even just a tiny bit, especially on days when you have zero motivation.
Okay, so even on the worst days, you still do something. What might that look like?
It could be writing 1 single paragraph, or 1 quick voice memo with an idea, reviewing 1 page of notes, 10 minutes of focused language practice.
Seems almost insignificant.
Individually, maybe, but cumulatively. Over weeks and months, it adds up incredibly fast.
And there's a psychological kick too, right? Even from a small step.
Huge. That small sense of accomplishment, of having done something, it actually fuels more motivation. It creates a positive feedback loop. Progress breeds progress.
It's like building that skyscraper you mentioned, brick by brick.
Exactly. You don't worry about the penthouse when you're laying the foundation. Just focus on the next brick.
Makes it less scary.
Way less scary. Reduces anxiety. Narrows your focus to what you can actually control right now. The next small step.
So if you're feeling stuck listening to this, the question isn't, how do I finish this huge thing?
No, the question is, what's the absolute smallest action I can take today that still moves me forward?
That's your minimum viable progress.
And that's enough, especially on tough days. Remember that.
We tend to think success comes from these giant leaps.
But so often, real, lasting success comes from quiet consistency. Those small, steady actions, day in, day out.
Okay, so we know our why. We're breaking things down into micro goals. How do we actually make sure we do them consistently? Goals alone aren't enough, are they?
Definitely not. Goals point the way, but systems are the vehicle that gets you there.
Systems, like habits and routines?
Exactly. Daily habits, routines, processes. James Clear nailed it in Atomic Habits. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems.
Wow. Okay. That's powerful. So unpack that distinction for us. Goal versus system.
Okay, a goal is the desired outcome, right? Future-focused. Run a marathon, get fluent, write the book. It's the finish line.
Got it.
A system is what you do now. The present moment habits, your weekly training schedule, your daily writing time, your language practice routine. It's the process you follow every day.
So it's the doing, not just the wanting.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Systems keep you going when motivation dips, when life gets crazy. With a good system, the results become almost inevitable.
Can you give a concrete example of a system?
Let's use English fluency again. A system might be every morning, 10 minutes reading news in English, 15 minutes listening to a podcast during commute, 10 minutes speaking practice with an app after dinner, review 5 flashcards before bed.
Ah, okay. Very specific actions tied to times or triggers.
Right. It takes the guesswork out. You don't rely on feeling motivated. You just follow the system.
And this applies everywhere, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Writers write daily. Entrepreneurs build step by step. Fitness comes from consistent workouts and eating habits. It's all systems.
So if you feel stuck, maybe the question isn't just what's my goal, but
do I have a reliable system in place? Goals inspire? Yeah. But systems sustain.
And the beauty of systems is they sort of automate things, reduces the need for constant decision-making.
Exactly. It simplifies things, lowers the mental energy needed. You just execute the plan. The key is designing a system that actually fits your life, your energy, not someone else's perfect routine.
And sticking to a system That changes how you see yourself too, doesn't it?
It really does. Over time, you stop thinking, I want to be a writer, and start thinking, I am a writer, because you write every day. You become the kind of person who does the thing.
That identity shift is huge for motivation.
It's incredibly powerful and sustainable.
So for anyone listening who feels like their project is just this heavy weight,
the call to action is design a simple, realistic, flexible, repeatable routine, daily or weekly. Something that supports your goal.
Because ultimately,
consistency trumps intensity. Focus on the routine, not just bursts of effort.
We're talking about routines.
Yeah.
What specific habits can we build into our day to actively cultivate this motivation?
One really simple but effective one. Morning planning. Just 5-10 minutes. Identify one key task for the day that moves your project forward.
Just one.
Just one main thing. And crucially, consciously connect it back to your bigger vision, your why.
Reinforcing the purpose right at the start.
Exactly. It sets the intention, gives clarity for the day. Super powerful.
Okay, sets the stage. What about looking back?
Regular check-ins. End of the day, end of the week, take a few minutes, reflect.
On what specifically?
Progress made, alignment with goals, what worked, what didn't, celebrate the wins.
Even tiny wins.
Especially tiny wins. And identify any adjustments needed. Reflection bridges intention and growth. It helps you see the progress, which fuels motivation and reconnects you to the why.
Because it's so easy to lose sight of the progress when you're in the thick of it.
Totally. Reflection makes the invisible visible, builds confidence.
What about rituals? I've heard people talk about having little rituals before they start work.
Yeah, motivation rituals can be great. Short, repeatable routines right before you start.
Like what?
Could be anything. A specific playlist, a short walk, 5 minutes of meditation, making a cup of tea while reviewing your tasks.
Yeah, like a trigger.
Exactly. It signals to your brain, okay, it's focus time now. It trains your brain to associate that ritual with getting into the zone.
So motivation becomes less about willpower.
And more about giving your brain the right cues, habits, systems, structure.
And if a routine gets stale,
change it, adapt it. Consistency in having some routine matters more than sticking perfectly to one that's not working anymore.
It always comes back to those small, consistent actions, doesn't it?
It really does. Even a 2-minute check-in, writing one sentence, it all adds up. You cultivate motivation through rhythm and routine, not by chasing some feeling.
So the difference between starting and finishing.
Finishers have habits. They have structure. They proactively build motivation into their day.
Okay, another big piece of this puzzle has to be acknowledging progress, right? Celebrating the wins along the way.
Absolutely critical. Don't wait until the very end to feel proud.
Why is that so important?
Our brains are literally wired for it. Making progress releases dopamine. That feels good, boosts motivation, builds confidence. It's positive reinforcement.
So we need those little dopamine hits along the journey.
Yes. And we need to stop downplaying our progress. Recognize the value in every single step forward, no matter how small it seems.
What counts as a small win?
Oh, lots of things. Finally understanding a whole podcast episode in English. Writing one solid paragraph when you felt blocked. Reaching out to a mentor. Fixing a tricky bug in your code. Even just sticking to your system for a whole week.
Right. It doesn't have to be monumental. And how should we reward ourselves?
Strategically. Choose rewards that reinforce the behavior without derailing you. Maybe a 15-minute walk outside after a focused 90-minute work block. Reading a chapter of a fun book after you finish editing a difficult section. Connect effort with a positive outcome.
What about non-material rewards?
Even better sometimes. Keep a success journal. Jot down daily or weekly wins. Great to look back on when you feel discouraged.
I like that.
Visual trackers, too. Habit trackers, progress bars, crossing things off a calendar. So satisfying. Gives you that little visual dopamine boost.
Yeah, seeing the chain build up.
Or just tell someone.
Yeah.
Share your win with a friend, partner, mentor, your accountability group. Makes it feel more real, invites encouragement.
It's about giving yourself credit, not waiting for permission.
Exactly. Recognize your effort. Respect your progress. Feel proud.
And those small wins probably feed back into that identity shift we talked about.
Totally. Celebrating wins reinforces, I am the kind of person who makes progress.
So make celebration part of the process.
Build it in. End of a work session, end of the day, take 60 seconds. What did I accomplish? Give yourself credit.
Because those small wins.
They're the fuel, the heartbeat of long-term success, not just little extras.
Okay, let's tackle a big one. Something that can totally sabotage motivation: perfectionism.
Ah, yes. The shiny trap of perfectionism.
It sounds good, right? High standards, quality, but
underneath it's usually fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough.
and how does it kill momentum?
Oh, it's brutal. Endless tweaking, never feeling ready, holding back, starting over. You get stuck in refinement and never actually move forward. It creates pressure, not progress.
So the mantra should be,
Done is better than perfect. Seriously, prioritize completion, getting it out there, over chasing some mythical, unattainable flawlessness.
Brené Brown talks about this, doesn't she? Perfectionism as a shield.
Yeah, she makes a great point. It's not about healthy striving. It's a defense mechanism against feeling shame or judgment, but it blocks the very growth we want.
So we need to embrace the imperfect action, the messy first draft.
Yes. Long-term projects thrive on real forward movement. Knowing version 1 is never the final version. Improvement comes from doing, iterating, learning, not just thinking about it.
It takes guts to release version 1, though.
It really does. But every meaningful achievement involved putting out something imperfect initially. Seth Godin says, you don't need more time. You just need to decide.
Decide to ship it.
Decide to make something real, even if it's flawed.
Because mastery doesn't happen in secret.
No. It's built through those messy drafts, those early attempts. Every expert started with imperfect work. Look back at anyone you admire. Their first stuff wasn't their best.
And perfectionism just tempts you to polish forever, postpone forever.
Right, but postponing isn't progress. And polishing something that never sees the light of day is pointless.
Progress comes from showing up, even imperfectly.
Exactly. Don't wait for the perfect day, the perfect mood. Consistent, imperfect action beats sporadic, perfect inaction every time.
So how do we fight back? What are some strategies against perfectionism?
Okay, first, give yourself permission to be a beginner. Allow imperfect creation. Clarity comes from action, not before it.
Right. Don't expect brilliance on day one.
Second, focus on effort, not outcome. Measure success by showing up moving forward, not by flawless results.
Okay, shift the metric.
Third, challenge your inner critic. Ask, is this standard realistic? Says who? Recognize fear is often driving it. Growth requires vulnerability.
Easier said than done sometimes.
True. And fourth, maybe talk about it. Perfectionism loses power when you voice it. Tell a friend, I'm scared to release this. Creating openly helps.
Because ultimately people connect with realness, not flawlessness.
Exactly. Your audience, whoever they are, needs authenticity. Your imperfect effort might be exactly what someone else needs to see.
So let go of the need for spotless.
Let it be raw. Let it be real. Let it breathe.
That feels like a relief, actually.
That's the moment your project comes alive, when you drop the perfectionism.
Because you'll never feel 100% ready.
Never. Don't wait for it. Existence is the first requirement. Just get it out there.
Persistence over perfection.
Make progress the goal. Let done be the win. Progress is achievable. Perfection isn't.
So the call to action against perfectionism is pretty clear.
Take the next step. Hit publish. Send the draft. Share the post. Release what you're holding back. Improvement comes after creation.
Okay, let's switch gears to a mental tool. Visualization. How does that help with long-term motivation?
Visualization is potent. It's way more than just daydreaming about success.
How so?
It taps into your emotional energy, gives you clarity. When you vividly imagine achieving your goal, it creates a sense of ownership, mentally rehearses success, makes it feel more real, more achievable.
And our brains kind of buy into it.
Yeah, interestingly, the brain processes vivid imagination very similarly to real experience. It activates motivation systems.
So it's not just for athletes.
Not at all. Entrepreneurs visualizing a launch, students picturing graduation, writers imagining holding their book. Anyone with a long-term goal can use it.
What's the key to making it work?
Clarity. Be specific. What does success look like, sound like, feel like? What emotions come up? Joy, pride, relief.
Engage the senses and emotions.
Yes. And connect it to your why. How does achieving this impact your life? Why does it matter?
A clear vision leads to clearer action.
Exactly. Vivid imagination fuels motivation and guides your steps.
Can you walk us through a quick visualization exercise?
Sure. Find a quiet spot, take a few deep breaths, relax. Then imagine the end result in detail. See it, hear it, feel it.
Really immerse yourself.
Yes, connect to the feeling of success, joy, pride, whatever it is for you. Step into that feeling, embody the person who achieved it. Hold that vision for a minute or two, then come back to the present.
And doing that regularly, what's the impact?
Creates a strong emotional bond with your goal, makes it feel attainable. Mental rehearsal boosts motivation, sharpens focus.
That's like a reset button for when you feel stuck.
Totally. Revisit your vision whenever motivation dips. Renew that energy.
Vision drives action.
Every great achievement started with a clear vision. Practice visualization to align your brain with your goals.
Now let's talk about something external. Accountability. How does that fit in?
Accountability is like an ally. It gives you an ongoing push that goes beyond your own internal, sometimes flaky, motivation. Adds external responsibility.
Because it's way too easy to let ourselves off the hook, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. We're masters of rationalizing procrastination. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Accountability helps stop that.
So accountability partners.
Great idea. Creates a built-in support system. Someone you don't want to let down. It's driven by trust, respect.
And it's more than just checking boxes, right?
Definitely. Good partners offer feedback, guidance, fresh perspectives when you're stuck. They reflect your progress back to you.
What about coaches or mentors?
They add another layer. Not just accountability, but expertise. They help you navigate obstacles, build better strategies for the long haul.
And it doesn't have to be one-on-one, right? Community accountability.
Exactly. Online forums, mastermind groups, even just publicly sharing goals in a supportive group. That shared journey is powerful. Support, encouragement, inspiration, belonging.
There's something about shared commitments.
Studies show we're much more likely to stick to goals we've shared. Visibility makes it real. You don't want to let the group down.
So how do you build accountability?
Find someone or a community that aligns with your goals. Specificity helps a group focused on your area is often better than a general one.
And for our listeners focused on English?
The English Vibe community is right there. A space to connect, share wins, ask questions, get encouragement specifically for that journey.
So if you're listening and feel you need that extra support,
definitely check it out. Connecting with like-minded people who get the ups and downs is invaluable.
Because being accountable to a community,
it creates this great positive feedback loop. Shared progress, mutual inspiration, keeps everyone moving.
So take a moment to think. Who or what could provide that support for you?
Yeah. Who can be your accountability ally on this journey?
Okay, what about reigniting passion when it starts to fade? How do we find inspiration?
When motivation dips, actively seeking inspiration reminds you of your why, gives you that needed energy boost.
Where do we look?
Books are great. Dive into something related to your field or personal growth. We mentioned Atomic Habits, Grit, The War of Art. They offer perspectives, remind you why you started.
Good recommendations. What else?
TED Talks, quick bursts of insight from amazing speakers. Brene Brown on vulnerability, Elizabeth Gilbert on creativity, Simon Sinek on why. Find talks that resonate.
Sometimes just changing your scenery helps too.
Absolutely. Get outside, walk in nature, redesign your workspace. Surround yourself with visual cues, vision boards, quotes, images related to your goal. It resets your mindset.
And maybe taking a break is a form of finding inspiration.
Definitely. Stepping away completely lets you come back with fresh eyes, renewed energy.
So don't wait for inspiration to strike.
No. Proactively seek it out. Read, watch, listen, change your environment, take strategic breaks.
And connect with your community again.
Yes. Your network is a huge source of inspiration and support.
Now let's talk about rest. We often think of it as stopping, as the opposite of progress. But that's wrong, isn't it?
Completely wrong. And a really damaging mindset. Rest isn't quitting. It's essential for long-term motivation, clarity, and productivity.
How does rest actually help us progress?
It recharges your creativity, your energy, lets your brain process information, consolidate learning. You come back sharper, more focused.
Like refueling the car. Can't keep driving on empty.
Exactly. Rest is fuel for your mind and body on this long journey.
And it doesn't have to be long vacations. Short breaks help too.
Absolutely. Short breaks during the day, longer breaks periodically. They maintain balance, prevent burnout, help you work more effectively when you are working. Rest is a strategy, not a sign of weakness.
How do we know if we're nearing burnout? What are the signs?
Good question. Burnout is prolonged exhaustion, physical, emotional, mental. Watch for constant fatigue, loss of motivation, irritability, making more mistakes. Physical symptoms like headaches or sleep problems.
Catching it early seems key.
Crucial. The earlier you address it, the easier it is to recover.
So if you feel burned out, what do you do?
Take a real break. Unplug completely. Practice self-care. Do things that restore you. Reevaluate your workload. Can you delegate, simplify, push back, set more realistic goals, break things down, talk to someone, a partner, friend, coach, and embrace the pause. See it as part of the process.
Because to stay on track long term,
you need rest. You need balance. It's essential for well-being and momentum.
So if you're feeling that burnout listening now,
permission to rest. Take the break you need to recover. It's an investment in your goal.
Finally, as we wrap up, let's just reinforce this idea
that these big projects, they're a long game. Success rarely happens overnight.
No instant results.
No, it's the result of persistence, consistency, patience. Think about Rowling's years of struggle. Edison's thousands of attempts for the light bulb filament.
Seeing failures as learning.
Right. Or even that freelance designer, Maya, 5 years of hard work and self-doubt before things really took off.
The common thread.
They faced challenges, they had doubts, but they didn't quit. They understood progress isn't always linear.
So, persistence and patience, they're our allies.
Crucial allies. View them actively, not passively.
Because lasting success
comes from the accumulation of those small, consistent steps taken with patience and commitment.
Okay, so just to quickly recap the main takeaways from this deep dive.
We hit on understanding the struggle is normal, knowing your powerful why, setting those micro goals, building systems and routines, celebrating small wins, overcoming perfectionism.
Right. Also using visualization, finding accountability, seeking inspiration, and the absolute necessity of rest.
Exactly. A whole toolkit for the long haul.
And to help you put this all into practice right away, we've got something for you.
The 7-Day Motivation Challenge. A concrete way to start building these habits.
Okay, let's break it down quickly day by day.
Day 1. Clarify your why. Really write it down. Connect it to your values. If it's fuzzy, reflect deeply.
Day 2.
Set a micro goal. One small, achievable, impactful task for today, and celebrate completing it.
Day 3. Create a daily system. A specific routine for your micro goal. Focus on consistency.
Day 4. Visualize success. Spend 5 minutes vividly imagining project completion. Feel the positive emotions.
Day 5. Share your progress. Tell someone. Accountability boost.
Day 6. Rest and recharge. Guilt-free break. Do something totally unrelated that relaxes you.
And Day 7.
Reflect and celebrate. Review the week. Acknowledge wins and challenges. Plan your next small steps.
The whole point of this challenge is to build momentum, sharpen focus, and start developing those sustainable habits.
Yeah, proving to yourself that motivation is something you create through action.
So as we close out this deep dive, if you found this useful,
please consider subscribing to the deep dive for more discussions like this.
And maybe leave us a review. It really helps others find the show.
Yeah, we appreciate the feedback. And share this with anyone you think might be struggling with motivation on a long project.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We really hope these strategies help you on your journey. We have total confidence you can achieve your long-term goals. The world needs what you have to offer.
Absolutely. We look forward to hearing about your progress. Keep going.